Welcome to another one of our episodes, our conversations here with Dan.
And Jed.
Yeah, I'm here too. But we've got several questions that have come in over the past week, and so we're going to address the first one right here. We usually have a concept or an idea, but this time someone's asked us just to kind of explore what a particular scripture means. And so if you want to be opening up, it'll be down here like usual. But if you want to look at Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12, someone basically just wrote in and said, how do we deal with this verse? What exactly does this one mean? So okay. I guess first we can read it for everybody and then take it away. So Proverbs 14 verse 12 says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but in the end it leads to death."
Well, if we're looking at the book of Proverbs, Proverbs has a lot about wisdom, and particularly divine wisdom, God's wisdom. So we need to listen to the wisdom of God on various issues in the book of Proverbs. But I think this passage is basically saying that if something seems right to a human being and that human being is not informed by divine wisdom, it could very well be the wrong idea and it could lead them to death instead of life. A related passage, which isn't in poetic literature like Proverbs, but in the book of Jeremiah, if you turn over to the book of Jeremiah, there's a statement with a similar meaning.
Okay.
Jeremiah, chapter 10, verse 23. He says, "O Lord, the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man to direct his own steps." And the idea here is that man doesn't have the wisdom to determine his own way. In fact, man left to himself will invariably do the wrong thing. And it is only God who can show us by revelation what the right way is. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9, it says, "Things which no eye has seen, things which no ear has heard, things which have never entered the mind of man, the things that God has prepared for those that love him." And then Paul says to us, God has revealed them through the Spirit. Well, see, without God's revelation, we would never know the plan of salvation or the great redemptive work of Christ or any of those things, because we wouldn't be able to figure that out on our own. And so Paul says in 1 Corinthians 2 verse 6, "We speak wisdom among those that are mature, yet a wisdom not of this world, nor of the rulers of this world, which are coming to nothing." So it's a wisdom that comes only through revelation.
Okay.
So man, left to his own ideas and own devices, will never find the way to God. It just isn't going to happen. Hebrews chapter 2 verse 1 says we ought to pay the more earnest attention to the things which we heard from Christ, lest we drift away from them. Well, our tendency is to drift away from God unless we're brought back to center by the things that God says.
Right.
So basically the Proverbs scripture is simply saying, don't depend on your own wisdom. You've heard country songs like, "This can't be wrong, it feels so right." Well, that's not very good logic.
Right.
Because the way we feel or the way we think, as we've pointed out in other videos, God says, "My ways are not your ways, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts."
Very true.
Isaiah 55. So basically that scripture says, don't depend on your own wisdom, depend on God's wisdom.
Yeah. The whole having an argument or a discussion with someone and saying, "But I feel," probably isn't going to get you very far. You need to have a little more basis in it.
That's exactly right.
Now, I imagine in the second half of the question, it says the leads to death. Do you think that passage is talking more of a spiritual or a physical death in that relation?
Well,
or it could be both.
I can't speak for the book of Proverbs specifically. He may have in mind physical death, not following God's wisdom, but certainly the the truth is still there, that if man follows his own ways, he'll end up in spiritual death as well.
Okay. All right. So thanks for sending that in. This is the first time we've had just like a direct, we want to explore a passage, but if you've ever got any of those, we'd love to do more of them. So thanks for helping us go through that passage in Proverbs. And thanks for watching our videos, getting them shared out and different things. We're glad they're useful to you. And we encourage you to send in any questions and thoughts you may have. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.